Number 48, in the name of Deputy Thomas Broughan.
I know, Minister, I think you've previously answered on Brexit readiness, but I just want to say at the start, I'd like to commend our officials who are preparing getting Brexit ready materials and sending out updates and communicating as much as possible with the public and with business about the steps needed to get us Brexit ready. But are you happy with the level of uptake of these materials by business and with the level of uptake of the various schemes? Because I think you sent us on details of all the different Intertrade Ireland and Leo and obviously Brexit loan scheme and so on. But how do those numbers fit the overall numbers of companies that are going to be affected? Thanks, Cian.
And thank the Deputy for raising this matter. My department is engaged in ongoing research to assess the extent of Brexit preparation among Irish businesses. Over the last 2 years, my department has worked to raise awareness of the key Brexit challenges, which include supply chain, tariffs, customs, regulatory standards, working capital and movement of labour, goods and services, to build business preparedness levels and to put a comprehensive set of supports in place for business. My department's ongoing engagement with business indicates that the proportion of businesses preparing for Brexit is increasing, particularly among those businesses identified as most exposed to Brexit-related impacts, and that awareness of the key Brexit challenges is increasing. Earlier this year, my department published a quick Brexit guide for businesses to answer many of the questions that Irish businesses may have and to provide information on the practical steps businesses can take to deal with Brexit. In addition to these events, Enterprise Ireland has rolled out a series of Brexit advisory clinics to help businesses across the country. Enterprise Ireland has established a Prepare for Brexit online portal and communications campaign, as well as an online Brexit SME scorecard to help Irish businesses self-assess their exposure to Brexit, and a Be Prepared grant to support SME clients in planning to mitigate risks arising from Brexit. In addition, Enterprise Ireland and the local enterprise offices have developed an online customs insight course. Intertrade Ireland works with SMEs on an all-island basis. As part of this service, Intertrade Ireland has organised a series of awareness-raising events focused on improving knowledge of custom processes and procedures and identifying actions that can be taken in areas such as logistics and supply chain management. Intertrade Ireland also offers a Brexit planning voucher worth up to €2,250 and an implementation voucher which offers 50% financial support up to £5,000 towards implementing critical changes in relation to Brexit matters. The Brexit loan scheme makes available relatively short-term working capital to eligible businesses with up to 499 employees to help them innovate, change or adapt to mitigate their Brexit challenges. Similarly, the Future Growth Loan Scheme, which was launched at the end of March, makes available longer-term capital to support investment in a post-Brexit environment. And while I've seen a very positive uptake of supports available, I am conscious that the delays to Brexit may have led businesses to defer their immediate planning. However, the UK's exit from the EU will mean changes for Irish businesses, and I want businesses to know that my department and its agencies are here to help.
The postponement towards October, it has had an impact then in making people less anxious to get ready through the various schemes. And I know there was a recent survey of Intertrade Ireland of companies in Belfast, and there were some dismal reports about investment plans being postponed, and that people were very worried about obviously what would happen at the border and in terms of employment, etc. But if you look at, you gave me a very thorough list, I think, in a few months ago of the various, like the Brexit loan scheme, 479 applications received, 430 I think you approved. Enterprise Ireland Brexit scorecard, 4,500 nearly of those have been completed. The Be Prepared grant, I think, had 168. The Market Discovery Fund, 251 projects. Brexit advisory clinics, well, there's only 13 of those, but there was 30,000 I think in attendance at one of those, and so on. And I noticed the Leos then, which we all have as deputies, a strong interest centres in our own constituencies and across the regions. 490, the micro scheme, 419 clients and so on, and Intertrade Ireland's Brexit Advisory Service. But those figures that you gave me, I mean, what kind of take-up does that represent, therefore, of all the possible companies who could have applied for those schemes, in each one of them? Thanks, Caherla.
And Tara.
Well, just to say that we have identified a number of categories of businesses that are particularly exposed to Brexit-related difficulties, including businesses in the agri-food sector, those in the border region and those engaged in export and import to, from and through the UK. And the Getting Ireland Brexit Ready public information campaign included workshop events throughout the country aimed primarily at businesses and people most affected by Brexit. Enterprise Ireland has also launched a Eurozone strategy to help SMEs broaden their export footprint beyond the UK. And of course, that we continue, to go on trade missions over to the Far East and right across the globe, and we bring companies with us so that they can find new markets and diversify their markets on a global basis. Enterprise Ireland and the LEOs help business looking at customs for the first time to understand the key custom concepts, documentations and the processes. And Intertrade Ireland works with SMEs on an all-island basis. And you mentioned about companies in Belfast, and I recently went to visit companies there through the Confederation of CBI in conjunction with oh, that's gone for me. But anyway, I went to visit them, and it's very clear that they're very concerned about Brexit, and that's why I took the opportunity when Budget 2019 I increased the funding to Intertrade Ireland by a further €1 million, which represented a 17% increase in their budget, because Intertrade Ireland is not just companies south of the border, they help companies north of the border as well. So that was very much welcomed by them, and they have been able to move on now to issue implementation vouchers up to £5,000. Thank you.
Broughan.
You said, that the two voucher schemes, I think there has been a much enhanced take-up, and obviously you're to be commended for launching those financial supports and encouraging the cross-border traders. But there did seem to be grave anxiety, I think, at that survey that was done among the companies that were present, I think, in Belfast at Intertrade Ireland. I just ask you also, I know that the Minister for Finance, I think, has sanctioned an extra 400 revenue staff, I think, at this stage in relation to customs and so on. But has there been any contact between your UK counterpart and yourself in relation to any possible customs arrangement that they are thinking of, that you sometimes hear in the media that they still feel technological solutions and so on will enable a no-border situation and the backstop which we have to maintain. But have you yourself been involved and the department in any discussions or has any proposals been put to you from your comparative department in the UK in relation to trade between here and the UK? Thanks, Caherla.
Well, of course, Deputy, as you know, that all negotiations are done through the EU in terms of the issues around Brexit. But I did have an opportunity last year to meet Liam Fox, the Secretary of State for Trade in the UK, and he did talk about technological solutions. I really wasn't very clear about how they would work, and for somebody that lives on the border, I'm still not clear how they're going to work. But what I would say to businesses, both large and small, they should now undertake to register with Revenue for a customs number. They should make contact with their own UK suppliers. They should check to see if their suppliers use the UK as a land bridge. They should review their supply chain, check if their business relies on products or services that are certified for compliance with EU standards by a UK body, engage with any trade representative body which they are a member, and avail of the government's range of advisory and financial supports. And there's more information at www.gov gov.ie/Brexit, because businesses, you know, they need to prepare, they need to be aware of the risks that Brexit presents to them. They need to mitigate for those risks, and there's a responsibility on business to engage with the supports that are there. And as you said, Deputy, there are a lot of supports, and I know that the staff in my department have worked extremely hard to put a full suite of supports in place, including the Brexit working capital loan facility, or the Brexit loan scheme, and the future growth loan scheme as well. So I would encourage businesses, even though it may not be as immediate as it was towards the 29th of March, engage and be ready.